We'll wait on the pastor. Pastor Freeman has left the building.
Hit the gavel, he'll keep talking.
We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, will you please stand as we are led in prayer by Councilman Freeman. Immediately following the prayer, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance. Going to ask if Councilwoman Sims will be so kind to do that for us.
God, it was you that said, let there be light, and so there was light. It was you that breathed into lifeless bodies the breath of life, and now there's light. So knowing that, God, we would just ask that we might remember that you are our creator, you're a maker, and that you are the inspiration to our hearts, minds, and souls. May you be honored in this meeting tonight. Bless our city, each one that's gathered here tonight in your name.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Minutes from March 25th, 2019. Council convened in regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville and the chair. All members were present. Minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved. Reading of petitions and communications, passage of the consent agenda, report of standing and special committees, passage and referral of new ordinances and resolutions, representation from various departments and divisions, public speaking period. On no further business, on a motion by Fusco, council adjourned at 7:58 p.m. to reconvene in regular session on April 1st, 2019, or a special call.
Any corrections or additions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
1 second. Mr. Neal, you abstained? Okay.
Letters, petitions, and communications.
For public service, 5 objections to the residential resurfacing program per resolution 64, 2019.
Refer.
2 objections to the unapproved street resurfacing program per resolution 63, 2019.
Refer.
1 objection to the roaming road improvements per resolution 73, 2019.
Refer.
2 objections to Main Street improvements per resolution 58, 2019.
Refer.
Notice of a new D5 liquor permit to Stella's Top Flight LLC at 847 Johnson Street.
Special attention, Councilwoman Samples.
Notice of a new C1, C2 liquor permit to the Family Dollar Stores of Ohio, doing business as the Family Dollar, 5303 at 970 Copley Road.
Special attention, Councilman Neal.
Notice of a transfer of a C1, C2 liquor permit to RS Petroleum LLC, doing business as RS Petroleum, 745 Archwood Avenue.
Special attention, Councilman Kamer. You have before you the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
We'll now move into our old business rules. Councilman Keith,
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like time.
time will be granted. Planning, Councilman Fusco.
Yes, the report of the committee on item number 1 is favorable with suspension of the rules.
The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Fusco, did you have any further comments on that before we, you go ahead and do your roll call first.
Roll call.
Yeah.
Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Councilman Fusco?
This, what we just voted on was the East End, the entertainment district, so I'm sure everyone was aware of that. And it's going to be very positive for the east side of town. Thank you.
Very good.
Time on 2, 3, and 4.
Time will be granted on items 2, 3, and 4.
The request of the committee is to file 5.
Item number 5 will be filed.
Time on the ballot.
Time will be granted. Public service, Councilwoman Keith.
If those 2 items could be filed, please.
Items 1 and 2 will be filed. We'll now move into our new business. Excuse me. Councilwoman Mobian?
I'm sorry, I was trying to get your attention, Madam President.
I'm sorry.
On the piece of legislation regarding the entertainment district, I thought my name and Mr. Milkovich's name was added last week. Did we do that, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, we did.
Okay, thank you. I didn't hear.
Okay, item number 1, offered by Mr. Fusco. Ordinance, authorized conditional use to construct a garage at 1286 Woodward Avenue.
Councilman Fusco?
Refer.
This item will be referred.
Item 2, offered by Fusco. Ordinance, authorizing conditional use to retain a 3-unit development at 655 Oxford Avenue.
Councilman Fusco?
Refer.
This item will be referred.
Item number 3, offered by Fusco, an ordinance authorizing conditional use to retain a used tire store at 1428 Copley Road and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Refer.
This item will be referred.
Item number 4, offered by Fusco, ordinance approving the sale of 60 Eleanor Avenue to Just G LLC, determining said property is not needed for public use and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 5, ordinance by Fusco, authorizing the Director of Planning and Urban Development, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into an agreement for title, appraisal, and review of appraisal services, and acquisition and relocation consultant services to carry out the community development program and other programs, and declare an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Offered by Fusco, ordinance approving the sale of city-owned land located at 526 South Main Street, Akron, Ohio, 44311, otherwise known as the Bounce Building at Canal Place, determining said property is not needed for public use and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Refer.
This item will be referred.
Okay, item number 7, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service and his or her designee, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for the construction of the city sidewalks 2019 and declare an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. This item the committee would like to see put on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 8, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizes the Director of Public Service or his designee, without the formality of publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts with Best Equipment Company for the purchase of one used rear-loading Packer truck and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
The committee's report is favorable, Madam President, and we ask for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. This is, we have rented trucks in the past, and what we are trying to do is own our own fleet at some point here, and as we slowly progress through this is an opportunity for us, and it is really, in the long run, a money-saving opportunity, and hence the suspension of the rules.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 9, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract after publicly advertising for bids for the removal and abatement of the vinyl flooring in certain rooms in Joy Park Community Center and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Madam President, the committee would like to see this item placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 10, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent without the formality of advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with Matrix Point Software LLC for the purchase of user licenses to access and use the Matrix Point software and declare an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules, please.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. This is just some more software for information to be shared between our departments like the Detective Bureau and Prosecutor's Office. Thanks.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 11, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract with Involta LLC for the purchase of dedicated public safety department servers and software at Involta Data Center and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay. Item number 11, offered by Mayor Horrigan and Kamer, a resolution opposing the passage of Ohio House Bill 174, which would further erode restrictions on gun possession in Ohio and permit the carry of concealed firearms without a permit and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. And I don't know if my colleagues will take a few minutes to think about maybe mayor and council as a whole, but I want to thank Ellen for sharing with me and my committee members the House Bill 174. I actually have it right here on my phone. I'm just going through it, so there's a lot of pages, but really not police friendly here in regards to this House bill. And I support this resolution, and I don't know if the mayor's office wants to speak on it, but with family and law enforcement, this is not good. This is really not good. And I'm surprised that they have so many co-sponsors on board with this House bill. So I'm glad this was brought in by the mayor's office, and I'm not sure if anybody wants to speak on it, but hopefully it passes council as a whole.
I know many of you share the frustration about cities and what they can do to restrict gun ownership and the permit process. This further erodes all of our restrictions to be able to do it, and we've been kind of tongue-tied and even ordinance-tied about doing something in particular, but I know many of my colleagues across the state are opposing this measure for a lot of different reasons. It's not police-friendly, it's not really community-friendly, and it's not a Second Amendment issue, and my question is always, when did the Second Amendment become more important than the First, or the 19th, or the 24th, or anything like that? They're equally important, So this further erodes our restrictions, and I would appreciate any other support council would like to give. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilman Cameron, I do apologize. Councilwoman Samples did ask for her name to be added as well. Did you have anything to say, Councilman Samples? Okay. So we have a motion for mayor and council as a whole. We have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Okay, and finally, we have item number 12, offered by Neal, ordinance authorizing the director of the Department of Neighborhood Assistance or his designee to enter into a contract with Catholic Charities Community Services Corporation for the operation of the summer recreation program for the youth with disabilities and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Neal,
Madam Chair, committee's request is consent agenda.
this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
That's it.
We will now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to council during this time, you can approach the podium. We're going to ask that you please sign in, give us your name and your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers. Is there anyone that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Please make sure your microphone's on there. Press that little red button at the end of the stem.
Got it.
There you go.
Okay. Again, good evening. My name is Tony Urdiles. I live at 619 Hickory Street. And I've come to council to raise an objection to assessments on Hickory Street. The residents of Hickory Street are objecting to the recent assessment for the resurfacing of Hickory Street. And I'm bringing this to your attention because it's more than just an objection. In March of 2004, the city of Akron initiated a 3-phase plan to acquire land and improve Hickory Street for development. Phase 1 was completed, which was 1,000 feet of Hickory Street from Memorial Parkway. This was completed in 2005. Phase 2 was completed, which is from Hickory Street, on Hickory Street from North Street to Howard Court. And this was completed in 2008. Phase 3 was not completed and is the area included in this assessment. So all the residents are asking for is Phase 3 to be completed with improvements including curbs with surface water and stormwater management. Resurfacing will quickly be eroded without curbs and the proper water management. So I have talked to Rich, and he has suggested a meeting with John Moore and some of the other people that are from Hickory Street to get together right after this meeting. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period?
Good evening, Council. My name is Harrington Hargrove. I live at 1008 Laurel Avenue, Akron, Ohio, 44307, Ward 3. I come before this council in reference to the GAR report stating that the African American community has been denied opportunity. Now, this is not my saying. It's in October 28th, 2018. And I gave council some package last week. And then I also presented something for every councilman tonight. And the first one is from Marcia Fudge, Congress of the United States. And if you look at it, what I have underlined in the second paragraph was that the city of Akron had $5,765,000 in community development block grant. I've been asking the city to use some of that money to uplift the black community. For 28 years, I've been asking this body that, and for 28 years, you've said no. You've done nothing. And I'm not picking no names or anything. I mean, this is just a fact. The GAR study was not mine. elevate Akron. And then on the second page, I have where I made a complaint, and it almost sounds like it mirrors what the GAR Foundation said, and that is Ward 3, African American businesses, we've been denied opportunity. It's no doubt about it. And I'm going to say this. If you ride through, I've been asking this body to ride through Ward 3, and if you go down Dart Street to Burnham Odom Drive, if you look at that, if you look to your right, you'll see the haves. If you look to your left, you'll see the have-nots. And that's Ward 3, the black community. Have-nots, nothing, nothing. 28 years. I'm asking this body, please do something. I mean, because HUD says that we're supposed to get a portion of this money. And $5 million, almost $6 million, this is 2013. So I'm asking council, if you were to take $250,000 out of $5,765,000, how would you miss it? How? I mean, you do more of that in waste. In waste of a project, architect don't do anything right, they tear it out and redo it. So I'm just asking council, please, look at what you're doing and what you're not doing. And you're not giving us economic opportunity. I mean, that's the GAR report. And then I have one more thing. In this package, I have a copy of the certificate. I was, in 1996, I was certified to be an MBE minority business and do business with the city. And I took this, my certificate, and I went to the city asking to buy or sell them different items because I could sell socks, gloves, work uniforms, and the city still turned me down. They wouldn't even let me participate.
Sorry to cut you off, but your time is up.
Well, I would like for y'all to do something.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove.
My name is Steve No. Address 1928 6th Street, Cuyahoga Falls. I'm here again about retiree spouses insurance cutoff. I'm just going to ramble around on a couple things. Last night I drove back from Indiana where I'd spent the weekend with my grandkids. Most of the time the road surfaces were pretty clean. When I reached Akron, the expressway was covered with snow. It was hard to see the lines on the road. And as I headed home on the North Expressway, the snow on the road seemed to get worse and the road seemed dangerous. But when I hit Howe Avenue, crossed Howe Avenue, and there's Cuyahoga Falls, the surface is clean as a whistle. It's wet, but it's clean. And I'm thinking, why is it so messy in Akron and not in Cuyahoga Falls? And I know there's been a lot of attention focused on Akron's inability to keep the streets clear and safe in snowy weather this winter, but I would have expected a better shot for them to do this before. This was probably the last big snow before next winter. And it's a lot of things. You'll get short-term attention and then forget about it. And that's how I feel the retirees thing was. When I came here, there was going to be a committee look at it. Nobody ever looked at it. A year and a half has passed. And I'm guessing no committee will ever look at it. But it's this kind of a problem. The city's reluctance or refusal to reconsider the plight of retirees with spouses when they abruptly cut off access to affordable quality health insurance. And I was here when the people who live off of Cuyahoga Street were complaining about the boring and the work on the sewer project messing up their home. They came here looking for some help. As far as I could see, they didn't get it. People come here looking for the city to do the right thing, accept responsibility when their actions have created a problem, and make an honest attempt to make things right. But from my experience here, administration makes decisions without facts to back it up. Council have their public speaking thing, but nothing ever comes of that. So people file file something in court, and court, you file it in court, and it's like it sits there for forever and nothing happens, and people just give up. And I'm kind of reaching that point myself. It's very frustrating. And when I see how the city treats people, I think back on a movie I saw back in the 70s. It's called Walking Tall. I don't know if any of you saw it, but this guy, he runs a counter to the corrupt organization that runs the place, and they cut him up and everything, and then they try to prosecute him. So he stands there in court, he rips open his shirt, he's got cuts all over him, and he says, if you let them do this to me and get away with it, then you're giving them the eternal right to do this.
Steve, your time is up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Knoll, for sharing. Thank you.
That's how I feel.
Is there anyone else wishing to share?
Good evening. I'm Jackie Easley. I think everybody know me. But I just have a couple comments that have been bothering me. You know, I'm a citizen here in Akron. I've never been scared living in Akron. And I find myself walking around now kind of scared, you know, with all the crime and everything and the shootings and everything. So that's kind of one of my comments. Then on Thursdays, I start getting this really eerie feeling in my stomach, like, okay, it's the weekend, who's gonna get shot and killed now? You know, every weekend. I've been going through that for a couple of years. You know, I hold it in and don't say nothing about it, but, you know, and then I'm sitting there and I'm looking up here at this row of beautiful, young, innocent women, and we're losing 1, 2, 3 of our young black men every weekend. They're going to grow up, they're not going to have mates, you know? And so I'm just very concerned, and so I do hope that you guys shoot down that bill that you guys were just talking about. And it's like a lot of people in Akron is walking around, they're hurt balls. We're hurting because we're losing our young men here. You know, nobody's really ever saying anything about it. And I've been coming here for years, and nobody ever says anything about the young black men that's got shot down in the streets last weekend. You know, I hate to be the one to have to get up here and say it too, but it's never hit said. Have you ever been to a funeral of one of the guys who got shot down and killed, and went and looked at his body and heard his mother and family crying and sobbing in the background? So, but that's enough on that subject for tonight. But I got one other concern. There is a lot of street lights out in this city. If you come down, I came down Romick Road Saturday night. The whole one side of the street is, there's not one street light on at all. You got a grocery store up there. You turn to go in, the 2 lights right there, they're out. It's like that all over the city, and so I'm concerned with that, you know, because it's all dark, and so, you know, I'm just voicing my concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Easley. Is there anyone else that's wished to speak during our public comment period?
Good evening, Council. My name is Carl Buck. I live at 1418 Sackett Hills Drive. I think you all know how I stand about resolutions and the Akron City Council passing them, but for once I have to agree with you. This House Bill 174 is idiotic. I'm a Second Amendment right believer. I'm a concealed carry person, but this bill is just stupid, and I think you should add some words in there that say, "You stupid legislators." Sorry, but that's just how I feel about it. They're being idiotic if they think this is a good law.
Thank you, Mr. Buck. Anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period?
Good evening. Many of you know me. I'm Carol Coleman Crane, owner of Team Towing and Service. Our business at 645 Carroll Street. down in Ward 5. As I've said before, I have 5 wheel lifts, I have 6 flatbeds, 5 service vehicles. I have about 25 employees. We run 24-hour dispatch. We run between 2,000 and 2,500 AAA calls a month. That's 40% of Akron residents. I also live in the city of Akron. We run about 1,000 to 1,500 trucks for the United States Postal Service, also in Akron. I mentioned last week about the Ohio Highway Patrol. We also do for them, which is also for the city of Akron. They are, as I explained before, and I've sent maps out to you all, the district is very similar, obviously the same as what you all go by. The difference with them is that they have it sectioned off and they have the rotation system. So they're picking towing companies that have 24-hour dispatching services. They already have everything that the safety committee requires to be eligible for the to be on that distribution. And we've ran them now almost a year without incident. The way Summit County, Akron has it set up is there's 7 districts, and there's 5 providers, which means that 2 providers have 2 districts apiece. 1 provider has 3 districts, 3 areas. He has 2 that are outside of the city of Akron. And I've been coming down here for the last several years. I've been meeting with several of you. I've been asking to be put on this rotation. I know Kinney's Automotive has also been asking to be put on this rotation. They also have everything required from the city safety committee to be on this rotation. And I'm not getting anywhere. I don't know what my next step needs to be. I don't know how to make this fair and equitable for all towing companies that meet the requirements that you all, the city council members, have put forth. I am willing to meet with each one of you individually. If you have questions for me, if you want to come down to my business, you want to come and see what we have going on. I run a very legitimate and very professional business. And I want to be part of this rotation for the police department.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. Crane.
Thank you.
My name is Sidney Richards. I live in Akron, Ohio. We in the black community don't need people from outside our community to come in and telling us who we should replace our city council and people at large with. We can make that decision on our own, and you should pay attention to who these people are putting in, saying we should
Mr.
vote
Richards,
for.
I want you to direct your comments to me, okay?
You should pay attention to who these people are saying we should vote for. We have city council people at large, and we don't need somebody else coming in from outside the community and saying we should vote for some tame person who doesn't have a bite and is not going to do really anything for us.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period? Seeing and hearing none, we will close our comment period. Before we move into our committee assignments, we do have a guest in the audience, Mr. Andre Lasiers. Just going to ask him to come to the podium. He is the Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Cleveland Clinic, Akron General, and he is actually helping to spearhead probably, I don't know, maybe one of the largest minority men's health fair here that the city has ever seen. And so he's just here to share just a little bit about that upcoming event with us.
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Madam President, for allowing me to speak. Andre Lasiers, I've been a resident of Akron, Ohio since I was 17 years old. And I'm happy to say when I had the opportunity to come back home from Iowa after 10 years, I jumped at the opportunity. In my role at the Cleveland Clinic Akron General, we have been running the Minority Men's Health Fair for the past 17 years. Last year was the first year we had the opportunity to host it here in Akron. We served roughly 7 counties outside of Cleveland last year. We had 240 gentlemen come and receive free health screenings ranging from prostate exams, PSA screenings, blood pressure, depression screenings, HIV screenings, and we had roughly around 140 men receive free screenings. Each man received roughly around 4 screenings that were completely free. We know that African American men and other men of color are on average 3 times more likely to die from preventative health screenings. And that's just unacceptable. Most of the reasons why that disparity exists is because of lack of access and lack of education. And one of the things that I want to make sure the city is aware of is that we now have an opportunity for us to provide those screenings for men. One of the key social determinants of health is socioeconomics. Last year, 67% of the men who received screenings resided in low to moderate income communities here in Akron. 65% of the 140 men, otherwise I can confidently say, would not have received the screening otherwise had they not come to that screening at Cleveland Clinic Akron General last year. And it's something that we're anticipating that's going to grow again this year. We are partnering with a lot of community partners, Huntington Bank. The city of Akron is even one of our partners. Every resident at all 93,000 homes that receive a utility bill will receive a flyer in the mail about the Minority Men's Health Fair on April 11th. It's from 5:30 to 8:30. It's at Cleveland Clinic Akron General. It is for our community. We are holding it simultaneously with 4 other communities. Cleveland, Lorraine, and west side of Cleveland has 2 locations. But we want to make sure that our residents know that this is a viable and free service for them. We're anticipating that we're going to have roughly around 500 residents attending. Right now we have roughly around 140 pre-registered. It's already exceeding the attendance from last year at this event. And we just want to encourage the council members to attend, if at all possible, to see your residents and encourage your residents to come and get the screenings. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. These are free preventative screenings. They are full screenings. We're not just passing out information. We're actually providing screenings for any person who wants to receive a screening that night. Free blood work, free physicals. It's full service health screenings for our men in our community. It's a critical opportunity, and we want to make sure that every man in Akron and Summit County and the surrounding areas take advantage of the opportunity. And again, thank you for allowing me to share for this, and I really hope to see as many as you as possible at the event on April 11th.
Thank you so much, Andre. Before we move into our committee assignments, we also have a special presentation on tonight, as we have some other special guests here with us. Councilwoman Sims.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to welcome the ladies of Kenmore Garfield Lady Rams basketball team, who is our City Series champions this year, and their coach, Yantami Jones. You know, this is just for me, not just like the everyday City Series win. You know, most of us recall last year we had 2 schools combined, Kenmore and Garfield. And certainly there was an undercurrent that could have kicked a whole lot of stuff off kilter. And so what I see this team's efforts and their success is being metaphoric for what we can do in life when we put our minds to it. And that's what happened with this team. We brought 2 schools together. They decided being City Series champion was their goal. They set it forth and did it. But we know that happened because of the heart that you have, Ms. Jones. Thank you. Even in the midst of your own challenges, to love on these kids and love them to victory. So we want to honor that today. Not only these young ladies, could you stand for one quick second and turn around, look at the folks in the gallery. Not only are these gorgeous young ladies tremendous athletes, they are brilliant scholars, many with 4.0 grade averages. So, Madam President, if you don't mind, I just want to give Coach Jones an opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I had a lot to say, but I want to try to make it short. 2 years ago, we found out that Kenmore Garfield was coming together as one, and I was a little bit upset because I'm a diehard Kenmore fan. I went to Kenmore, graduated from Kenmore, played all kinds of sports at Kenmore. But once I figured it out, I immediately called Garfield to find out who was playing basketball. And I said, I'm going to get a jump on this. So I did, and I invited the girls to come to our open gyms early, even before school was over with at Garfield. Come to our open gyms, get to know each other, and we did that. And from that, we started building good rapport with each other. We didn't have the bickering and fighting as other schools probably did coming together. Last year, we made it to the championship. I got sick last year, but we fought through. We didn't pull it out, but I was proud of them for making it to the championship. This year, we are the 2019 Kenmore Garfield Lady Rams champions. Yes. And I'm proud of them. And a quick story I wanted to say is we were doing good at the beginning of the season. We ended up playing a team. The team tried to start a fight with us. We held our composure. Things didn't go right with officiating, and I can say that because I'm a Class 1 official as well. And with that being said, the girls got down on themselves, okay? And it was hard because they didn't want to trust, well, the officials aren't going to be fair, this and that. But I had to explain to them, look what happened to me last year, December 2017. They threw the C word, and that's all I call it because I don't claim it. They threw the C word at me, stage 4. There was a tumor behind my orbital socket. It started off breast, all the way to the bone. And I was on my deathbed. I really didn't realize it because I'm a fighter. And with God's help, I pulled through. I was eating right, I was working out, I was doing this, doing that. And I had to tell them, they knocked us down in that game. We should have won that game. We lost by 2. I said, but we're going to fight and we're going to pull out. So gradually we started getting better and we overcame that adversity. And that's what I love about this team. They have heart. I really love that about them. And Kenmore Garfield came together and I'm proud of them. We lost to Brookville twice this year, once by about 20, the second time by about 6. And the championship game, we pulled it out. And I'm very, very, very proud of them. I do have only one senior, so we plan on coming back to the championship next year and winning as well. My senior, can you stand up, please? This is Alexis Radcliffe. I want to say she was Player of the Year. She had got a lot of awards, Tri-County, second team. I have Ayana Lopp, Tri-County, second team. Mari, honorable mention. Bree, honorable mention. Genesis, honorable mention. I got almost all of them are 4.0 or 3.4 or higher grade point average. I'm so proud of them. I also don't want to brag, but they voted me Coach of the Year, and then I just received Clem Calabuhan Coach of the Year award for the touchdown in Beacon Journal. And if I can leave you with this, all things work together for the good of those who love God, and need to make it personal for me because I was called according to His will. Thank you. Thank you.
So I know there were other members of council who wanted to offer some remarks. We're honored to know that you are our very own. We thank you for your love and your commitment.
Thank you.
We are very proud of all of your team.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
You're welcome. At this time, are there any other council members that had any further comments? Councilwoman Samples?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to congratulate these young ladies, and may you continue on your journey to greatness. Just to hear about your GPAs in the midst of you playing ball is a testament to your coach. I might be a little biased here, but you guys have not only a great coach, but a wonderful mentor. And when you have somebody who is determined the way she is, there's nothing you all cannot do. Just follow in her footsteps. You guys have a great person ahead of you. And then Alexis, we're going to John Carroll, so we need to talk. Thank you.
Any other council members? Councilman Freeman?
Being a Kenmore boy, Kenmore Garfield together now, that went pretty well. We expect a lot more championships, okay? All righty. Thank you. Congratulations, ladies.
Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Coach Jones, known you for a while. Congratulations. Ladies, congratulations. But I would be faking it, and you know what's coming. Congratulations this year, but don't expect it next year. I bleed black and white, ladies. I bleed black and white. I wouldn't be true to my colors if I didn't stand up here to defend my school. So congratulations, but we'll see you next year.
Don't listen to what he says.
Councilwoman Mobley, did you have something to say?
Just briefly, congratulations. I think, just the role model that you have to follow, everything she said about, working hard, doing the right things, and just how the Lord will work miracles in your life. But then your grade point average, and you have to be studious and attention, just all the things you need to be successful in life. And then the sports on top of that gives you rigor and discipline. So congratulations, we wish you very well. And since I am not affiliated with either, go Rams.
Again, ladies, congratulations, congratulations, Coach Jones, well-deserved, and just remember, perseverance. Perseverance. We'll now move into our committee assignments, rules, Councilman Keith. Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Planning, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilman Keith. Public Utilities, Councilwoman Samples. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal. Housing, Councilman Kilby. Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian. Economic Development, Councilman Sims. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky. Is there anything else coming before council? Councilman Neal?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a few things. One, Mr. Nome spoke to it about when people come down and they ask this council to act on items. I'd like for us, the request was made that we put a list and we show who's following up on it, because Mr. Nome mentioned the folks down off of Collier Street. I spoke with Ms. Cindy Bell, and it's disheartening. She said that we have ceased trying to assist them, that they had to go to court and this case was dismissed. I'd like clarification on that. Hopefully we're going to do something to assist those families that, I forget what street it is, but we must still. That's a reflection on this council, that's a reflection on this city, on how we treat different communities. We need to assist those folks with their homes. That's well documented. And all the other concerns, we need to at least show that we're doing our part to address their concerns. The other thing I wanted to share was, hopefully everyone got in their box a sheet that's actually from October 15th, talks about what does it cost to raise a child. And it says to raise a child from birth to the age of 18 is $245,000. That was in 2015. That's if your income is 6 figures or 4 figures. Of course, if you're on the lower end, you may get some assistance, but it still costs. And down at the bottom, this is the part I want to show. It shows that one should not spend more than 30% of their income for housing. I raise that because when we put that in light of the article that's being written by the Beacon Journal about the challenges that are in our community, it's this body here. We need to take these metrics into consideration when we make policy. And it's concerning. I mean, we're privileged to be in a position to be able to serve to address this issue. But as a citizen, we're all citizens as well, having an inside seat, I'm concerned when we don't come together to truly address these issues. So I bring this before you so that we can come together. Again, these conversations are taking place on 4 sides of town. On April 9th, we'll be at the west side at Bookto High School from 6 to 8. And then each week it's going to be on each side of town. This council needs to come together at the culmination of these conversations and show how our policy, what are we going to do to help address the challenges that our families face. I say that because I looked at Cleveland City Council. They just passed their budget. Cleveland City Council allotted $75,000 for each ward. They have 17 wards. Their wards are approximately the same size as ours. They allotted $75,000 for each ward for senior home repair. Crucial when you read this article here. And then they also allotted each ward $75,000 for small capital improvement projects, such as park improvements and things of that nature. Now, no, we're not Cleveland, but when I talk to my colleagues in Youngstown who are a lot smaller than us, they do the same thing. As a council, we need to come together and have a plan to address these challenges. Last but not least, hopefully all of you did read the article that was in Sunday's paper. Because last week we had a conversation, we had an opportunity to set money aside for us to go through training to understand equity. Came down and the request was for us to form an equitable policy with the tow trucks. We can't legislate equitable policy if we don't understand what it means, if we're combining equity, if we are combining equity with diversity. We have to understand the difference. So my request is, again, I don't think we've had a caucus in some time. We're all campaigning, asking folks to put us in leadership positions to help lead this city forward. We've got to come together to find answers to these challenges. And so, Madam Chair, my request again is that when it comes to items that come across the public comment, that we document them and follow them through this process, and that as council at the end of this discussion period, we come together to put together a plan to address these concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Councilwoman Sims.
Thank you, Madam President. I too want to say just how much I appreciate when the community comes down to share their thoughts, their ideas, and their concerns. But more importantly, to reemphasize what I mentioned earlier relative to the example that this team of young folks has presented for us metaphorically, what can happen when we come together and decide we're going to do. Many of the concerns that were raised today, I know it's, it sounds like a broken record, goes back to economics. Whether we're talking social determinants of health, or whether we're talking the fear or the dis-ease people in the community are feeling around the issues of gun violence. And so I submit again, we have real good examples of what can happen if we decide to come together. I would encourage those who come down to speak not to get discouraged, but to keep lifting your voice and know that we are listening. I wish, too, that we would move a little quicker, but know that we are. We appreciate you coming. And I just want to say to Akron General, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for your heart for the community. I had the privilege last year to be one of the flowers among all the weeds at the health fair for at Akron General. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful, and it was quite rewarding for many of the folks who came. And really, we heard the same thing. Had it not been for the generosity and the vision of Akron General Cleveland Clinic, many of them would not have had the opportunity to be screened and met with some early diagnosis that could have potentially saved their life. So I would encourage those who didn't have an opportunity to go last year to do go and see how wonderful just the tapestry of the community that comes together to offer these invaluable resources to our community. So again, thank you, and thank you for the people again. And thank you again to our young folks. I am so extremely proud of you, and keep up the good work.
We have a motion for adjournment. Any objections? And a second. Seeing no objections, we are adjourned.